Welcome to FBB Forum. If you like this content, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm very pleased to welcome the stunning IFBB Pro women's physique competitor, Robyn Mays, to the podcast. Robyn competed at both the Masters Olympia and the Masters World Pro earlier this year, and she won the Masters over 50 division at Tampa Pro this year as well. Stay tuned to find out where she'll compete next. And I did want to mention, I got to see you compete in Tampa because I live in Tampa, so I go to that show every year. But yeah, you looked really good, and I congratulate you on winning that division too.
Thank you.
Now, I was curious, when you got started in bodybuilding, did you have an athletic or a sports background before you started?
I actually, I ran track in high school, but I mean, we know that was many moons ago.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I had never lifted weights, though. I didn't lift weights until I think I was 46 the first time I picked up weights.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I've always had an athletic frame. My father was 6'5", so
Wow.
and had very broad shoulders. So the shoulders and the back width, I think I got from my father. The legs, I think I got from my mother. And the
Okay.
small waist, I think that came from my mother.
Wow, that's really cool. So you kind of blessed genetically there too, huh?
I am. But I mean, like I tell people, it doesn't matter how well your genetics are, you still have to work.
Yeah, that's true. How tall are you? You said your dad was 6'5"?
Yeah, I'm only 5'7", which is, I think that's average for women.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my mother was only 4'11", so
Oh,
the
really? Oh,
so yeah, we the girls, we got some height, but not, we didn't get super tall. I always wanted to be like 6 feet. I always wanted to be. So
oh,
I was
wow.
kind of disappointed I stopped growing. I'm like, oh man.
Oh, wow. That's quite a height imbalance between your
Oh yeah.
parents too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, Now, I was curious, how did you get started in bodybuilding and who convinced you to do your first contest?
I actually was so I used to be a smoker. So I quit smoking, gained a ton of weight.
Mm,
Um and I just really became unhealthy.
mhm.
And then I went to my doctor and we did, the blood work and all that, and it came back I was pre-diabetic,
Wow.
high blood pressure, which we found out later that's hereditary, that, it had nothing to do with gaining weight or anything. But
Mhm.
um so I decided I didn't want to take all the medications because I had high cholesterol, high blood pressure. So I was on like 3 different medications he gave me.
Mm.
And I just like, I can't do it. I said, I can control this if I lose weight. So my husband bought me a treadmill, and I just started every day. I would do like an hour before work, an hour after work for
Wow.
like 4 or 5 months. And I dropped like maybe, I went from like 214 down to like 160.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
great.
from like January to May. And then my son, I was looking at Oxygen magazine, and I was like, "Oh, I could do that." My son's like, "No, you can't." And if you tell me I can't do something, yeah, that's my goal.
That's a
Like,
big
okay,
challenge for you, huh? Yeah.
yeah. So that was my challenge, and I did my first show as a bikini competitor.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and I fell in love with the stage. Yeah, I was nervous in the beginning, and I still get nervous to this day.
Yeah.
People they'll ask me, "Well, do you?" I'm like, "Yeah." But the minute my foot hits the stage, I actually have no memory until it's like I'm a different person. I
Really?
literally turn into a different person when the minute my foot hits the stage, and
Wow.
then I'll go from there. So,
What year did you start competing?
um, what's that? So 2003? No, 2012. It was
Okay.
2012. Yeah.
Wow. When did you switch to physique?
Um, so I did bikini. They told me my legs were too big.
Hmm.
Uh, I tried figure, just didn't really have an interest in it because it was just not enough to do. The quarter turns, I was like, I want to do something more.
Yeah.
And then I went into what they call fit body, in the WNBF, and that's like it's women's physique, but you wear heels.
Yeah, I've seen that
So
before. Uh-huh.
yeah, so basically that's what I would say. It was women's physique, but they called it something else, and you wore heels.
Yeah.
Um, so I did that in 2013,
Okay.
and I went on to win my pro card, and then I won the world championship
Wow.
uh, that year, and then the following year I moved over to bodybuilding,
Okay.
and then I won the world championship in bodybuilding.
Oh, wow.
So then I figured I had did everything I could do in that league. So
Yeah.
then I decided to do NPC. And I
Okay.
did the Jay Cutler show in Boston was my first show. I actually one of the women I competed with was Brooke Walker.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I'll never forget that. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in over my head. Like
Oh,
these
wow.
guys are massive. And but I hung right with them. So I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. Yeah, so that was pretty impressive. And then, when they find out how old I am, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah,
You're 57, is that right?
yes.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah. You look great for 57 for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look about probably I'd say 40 maybe.
See, I like that. I'll take that. Considering my son's almost 40, so yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you look great. I was curious, when when did you earn your pro card in IFBB?
I actually so I decided to go over to the NPC. I did I think 3 shows, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna go for my pro card, but I'm not gonna tell anyone. So I did the universe. I coached myself, and I was 100% natural at that time.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, so I went
Wow.
and I did I think it was the 35, 40 in the open,
Okay.
and I won the 40. I think I came second in the 35 and second in the open, which all three qualify for pro cards. So
Oh, okay. Very cool. Yeah.
yeah, so, so I won like on my first try, so that was pretty cool. But
That
I tell people, people look at that and they're like, "Oh," I said, "but you have to understand, I have been competing, winning world championships as a natural competitor, and back
mhm.
then the natural competitors were tough. I mean, because some of the best IFBB pros came from that league. I mean,
Yeah.
Sean Corrida, Kai Green, they all came from the WNBF. So they built a natural muscle before transitioning over. So,
Yeah. There was a woman, I forget her name now, Patricia something, that became kind of famous natural bodybuilder, but she had a
oh, I
really,
know.
you
What's her
remember
name?
her? I forget
Yes.
her last name.
Like, why can't I think of her last name either? But I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes, and she was really good.
She was really good, and I was surprised she never did NPC or anything like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always liked her look though.
Yeah, she did have a very what was her? I can't think of her name. I'll think of it later. I know it.
She kind of dominated too. She seemed like she
She
was
did.
really,
She, like, yeah, she was the one. Like, if you could beat her, she was the standard. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Oh, I know. That's really interesting that you did both. That you did the natural and do you have
hmm
a preference for one or the other or
um, I like both leagues have their what's the word I want to say? Both leagues have some offer something that the other one doesn't. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? With a natural league, everyone's drug tested. So in some ways, people will say, well, that's more of a level playing field.
Mhm.
Um, but at some point, there's only so many in the league, so you kind of compete against the same people over and over. So
Yeah.
if you want to advance, you basically have to move over,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's why I do.
I was thinking too, if you want to get to the Olympia, and I think that's the goal of so many people, I think you really have to get into IFBB too.
You
So
do, you do. So it's like,
yeah.
um, I mean, I think there's a stigma of people think everyone that's in IFBB has to be like using all these steroids and all that stuff. And I tell people, it's not as much as people think it is. I
That's
think
cool.
some of the higher level competitors are a lot more natural than people think they are. I'm not going to say they're 100% natural, but they use a lot less than people think they use.
Real? That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly believe that because if you can kind of tell just looking
Mhm.
at the skin and stuff like that. You can tell who's going to the extreme and who's not. But
Mhm.
I find the top level people don't seem to go to that extreme and they're still making it to the top,
Mm,
so
that's really good. Good for your health too, to
it is,
yeah.
it is. Longevity, that's the key.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah. I was curious, do you know where you'd like to compete next?
I actually do have a show picked out for next year, but I'm kind of keeping it undercover.
Oh, cool. No, no problem. No, that's cool.
But I will be back next year. That's for sure. The goal next year is to I'm gonna just put it out there and say I will be going to the Open Olympia next year. There's
Awesome.
no doubt in my mind that I'll make it there.
That's terrific. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I was curious if you had any preference on masters or open, since you do both.
The funny thing is because so for the Open, the age is 40.
Hmm.
So to me, it's no different than competing against a 30-year-old. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm 57, so I'm like, I still have 17 years on these. Someone that's 40 or even 45, I still have 12,
Hmm.
years on them. So what's the difference of at that point, 30 and 40 is not that big of a difference.
Yeah, that's true. They'll look like young whippersnappers to you. Like, thanks.
Right. So
Yeah.
like, I look at it this way. I have absolutely nothing to lose. If I don't win, it's just not like, like, okay, so you didn't beat the grandmother. So, but if I do win, it's like, oh, but
That's awesome. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, the Masters Olympia was all 40 and over, right?
yes.
Yeah. I
I
oh,
believe I was the oldest women's physique too.
really?
I'm almost sure I was, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. I was curious that I bet it was a thrill for you to be up on the Masters O stage. Did you enjoy it?
It was such a great experience. Just, I mean, we had some things that went a little bit wrong, but even that was an experience. Going to a different country, just, seeing how people live differently.
Hmm.
Um, and then the way they had the stage set up, it was really nice. It was quite an honor. I was just blessed to be able to say I was one of the ones that were chosen to go. So I didn't really obviously wanted to win, everybody does, but it wasn't the placing for me. It
Hmm.
was the experience.
Sure, I understand. What was it? Did you like Romania? Was it I bet that was kind of interesting culturally.
It's funny because I thought it was going to be a lot different.
Hmm.
Like everyone I ran into spoke English. I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay. I'm thinking I'm going to need an interpreter.
Uh-huh.
Um, I learned a lot of cultural things. Like, for instance, the country itself is not part of the European Union,
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
but one of the vendors I was talking to, he was saying that they're trying to force them to become because they had two different currencies.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
like, why does your country have two currencies? Because
That's
they were
weird.
using the euro and the rand.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm like, what is that about? And then he was explaining how they're not officially part of the union, but they're kind of making them become part of the union. So that's
Oh,
why the currency. So I was like, okay,
that's really
okay,
interesting, huh?
yeah.
Yeah,
So I got like I had, educational uh, trip while I was over there. I said, oh, I got to learn something
I bet. Did you get a chance to tour the city?
a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
Um, One of the things was our luggage got lost. So
Oh,
yeah,
really? Oh no.
yeah. So we had to go like we actually the hotel, one of the women at the front desk, she was really helpful. She told us where to, a store that we could go to, and we went over there, and everything is in the Ron. So I'm like, $2,500. I'm like sitting there with my phone trying to calculate how much this actually is, and it's actually really cheap though.
Oh yeah, that yeah. Yeah, that might set you off or be a little confusing at first though to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So converting your money over and all that, that was, yeah, it was interesting.
What
But I
did
mean, they
you
take credit cards and everything, so
how'd you get did you get your posing suit in time or did you have to borrow one or something or
I actually had, so I always travel with at least 2 to 3 posing suits.
okay.
So I had the posing suit that I had got specifically for the show. It was in the my luggage that got lost, but I
Hmm.
had 2 others with me, so I mean, that part was okay. And
Yeah.
then we did end up getting the suitcase back the Friday when I got home.
Oh really? Oh wow.
Yeah. So apparently it was stuck in Munich for a whole week.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So your luggage went on vacation without
Oh,
you.
it did. It did. But I mean, the funny thing was, it was, so we get to from Munich because we flew from Boston to Munich to um, Cluj, and we get to Cluj, and we're all standing there waiting to get our luggage, and everyone's getting their luggage and leaving, and we're still standing there. I'm like, okay. And
Mhm.
then the thing stops, and there's like 8 of us, and we're all like, "Where's our luggage?"
Oh no.
Dick Cutler was one of the people too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, so
wow.
we had to fill out a form, and they said, "Well, if we'll find it, they'll, send it to the hotel." And but fortunately, I mean, it didn't get to when I needed it, but I ended up getting it, so it was all good.
Oh
I was
wow.
able to wear the suit to the Worlds.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something you won't forget too. It makes it more memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole experience. I mean, it was like coming back, we missed our flight because the flight out of Cluj, like that Cluj airport is a very small airport,
Really?
like very small. I'm like, I've
Oh.
never been in an airport that small.
Oh wow.
And the flight got delayed, so I knew we were going to miss our connecting flight.
Yeah.
Um, so when we got to Munich, they put us up in a hotel, which was nice. I was like, oh, okay, so at least we got a hotel. And
Yeah.
um, then we ended up flying to the Netherlands. So
Oh.
I was like, oh, I get to go to an extra country.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. So it
Wow.
was an experience, but we just took it all in stride because that's all you can do. I mean,
Yeah.
you get upset, but it is what it is. So just
No.
taking that experience, and I'm like, well, we didn't plan on going to the Netherlands, so now we're here for 8 hours, so got a chance to see some of that country. So
That's really cool.
like
Yeah.
bonus trip.
Yeah, that's true. Unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man, that's really cool though. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
yeah,
Um,
I did. I just hope they don't have it there next year.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I've talked to some competitors and hoping that maybe it'll come to US next year. That would
Yeah,
be nice. Yeah, that would be good.
I hope so because the travel in it itself, I mean, it was 8. Well, total was like 11 hours
Yeah.
flying time, so that takes a lot out of you.
I bet that would
And
be tough too when you're getting ready for a show too, and you're tired and hungry and
exactly,
you're kind of stuck on the plane. You
yeah.
can't really pump up or exercise or whatever. And
No, so I had to keep getting up, walking around, so I wouldn't body wouldn't retain fluid and
yeah,
drink fluid at the same time. So yeah, that one a little bit challenging, but
yeah, I
it,
understand.
it was like I said, it's a learning experience. So I know next time.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure it was a good experience too.
It,
Yeah. I was curious, what has been your favorite bodybuilding show that you've competed in so far?
honestly, I would say it was the Atlantic Coast Tim Gardner's show in
Oh,
Fort Lauderdale last year. I loved that show. I
yeah.
think a part of it had to do with the weather was perfect. It's at the marina, the Hilton
Mhm.
Marina. So it's in a beautiful location. And we left right from there after the show and went on a cruise.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Very
So
cool.
we planned it out that way. So, um, but I like the convention center it's held in. Everything was just, it was right there, and I thought it was very convenient. And he runs really good shows. Gary Udick runs really good shows too. So,
Yeah.
and I like the Tampa, but I think the Atlantic Coast just because, like I said, it was right on the marina, and the weather just happened to be perfect.
Yeah. That's a good time. It's in November, I think, and that is a nice
Yeah,
time to be in Florida.
exactly. Especially coming from Boston. So
But in Tampa is in August, early August, so it's just really brutal out there with the heat. Yeah.
it is. It is. Yeah, Tampa was brutal, but I mean that's still it's a nice venue and stuff too, but like you said, it just gets so hot there.
It does. Heat and humidity is really strong and in
Yeah.
the summertime here. It is, yeah. Um, I was curious in terms of did you ask for feedback from the judges in terms of where do you need to improve your physique?
So my lower half has always been my strong point. They want to see the back a little wider and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
From last year, it was basically kind of the same critique, and they wanted, but and I brought it up some, but I know there's a little bit more to be done. So that's the goal. We'll try to get the back a little wider and shoulders a little bigger. So
Okay, terrific. Yeah. You look great up on stage, I think. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Um, I was curious in terms of prep, like what would you say is the toughest aspect of competition prep for you?
Honestly, because I work in corporate, so that's for me is the biggest challenge because some of these people they work in gyms or um have part-time jobs. Not and my job is kind of stressful at times.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the hardest part because like most of the people that work in corporate, they have no idea what bodybuilding's about.
Hmm.
And to be honest, they really don't care. So
Yeah.
they're like, I don't care about that bodybuilding stuff. Have a donut, So I'm, I am constantly surrounded by that donuts and pizza parties, and I'm like,
Oh no, that's too much
they're like, you're
temptation.
eating chicken again? I'm like, yep, chicken again.
You have to bring your own meals in, I'm sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's yeah, I think that would be tough to have the donuts and the pizza around.
Oh, it in the beginning, every time when I start prep, it's hard in the beginning, and then after a while, it just you don't even want it anymore. It's just like, you know what? I know what my goal is, so this is just temporary, and
Hmm.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah. And that yeah, did your I was just curious if your coworkers, do they follow your bodybuilding career at all?
I have a couple that do, because they've always like they'll see the change in me, and
Hmm.
they're like, Jesus, especially come summertime. Wintertime, I'm all covered up, and because I'm always cold, even when I have body fat on me.
Uh-huh.
And then, the springtime comes and I start wearing short sleeves. And then summertime, they're like, oh my God, where did that come from? Oh, my God. Yeah. I'm like, it's always been there, guys. It's
Oh,
just what's coming up.
I see. That's funny. That's cool though.
It is kind of fun.
Now I was curious, do you have kind of a hard time dealing with that transition between competition shape and then going back to off-season kind of bulking shape?
I think everyone does. I mean,
Mhm.
you get into that, you're so shredded and you got all these veins and lines, and then they start fading. Like mine are starting to fade now. So,
Mhm.
but I've become more accepting of it because I know this is what I need to do.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things is I've never done a proper off season.
Really?
I felt kind of just, yeah, contact my coach 20 weeks out and say, all right, let's go. This year we're doing it different. There
Okay.
is no, basically, I don't have a off season. We have an improvement season. So we're
Gotcha.
strategically using every week to do what we need to do to get to where I need to be.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. It looks like I was looking at your your competition record on NPC News Online, and it looks like you haven't even really taken a year off since
No,
2015, I think, right?
right, right.
Wow.
Well, no, actually, I did take time off because I
Oh, you
took
did?
the pandemic.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. I
I didn't
understand.
compete 2020 or 2021.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so you did take a break then.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So I mean, it was kind of a break because I didn't have much of a choice.
yeah.
um, at that time, no one really like knew what this was, and I was like, I don't want a chance going somewhere and you know catching something or whatever. So we kind of just said, all right, let's just take this time off and see what happens.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that is kind of nice to be able to take a break too, and
It was, but I kind of craved the routine.
yeah.
2020 kind of threw everything off because the gyms were closed. Um, I mean, everything was closed. You couldn't even go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
So that kind of like threw off the routine for a while. So
hmm
2021, I kind of had to take that year to get everything back in order.
Okay, sure.
And then I decided at the end of 21, all right, let's do this for 22. So that was my little comeback.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I bet it was nice to come back too, especially if you
It
could.
really was. It was funny because I my first show I did Gary Yu's Worlds
hmm
last year, and I remember my coach saying we're backstage, and he's like, "All right, let's practice." And he said quarter turn, and I turned the wrong way, and he looked at me. He
Oh
looked at
no.
me like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "Don't worry, I'll get it together."
Oh man.
I was like, "Geez, I forgot everything."
Uh, it's
But
always
the minute, like I said, the minute I hit the stage, everything just comes. It's just like natural. People are
yeah.
like, "You look like a natural out there." I'm like, I don't even remember. It's just like my body knows what to do and it does it. So
It's always quarter turn to the right, isn't
yeah,
it?
I quarter turned to the left though.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the look on his face was like, "Oh my god."
Oh man, I understand now. Oh yeah, yeah. I was curious if you could give any advice to rising pros and amateurs who are struggling with competition prep.
One of the things is they have to find a coach that they trust,
hmm
and they also have to understand that it takes a coach a while to learn your body.
hmm
And I see a lot of people that'll jump from coach to coach to coach year after year. And I'm like, are you really giving that coach enough time to learn your body? No.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been with my coach now on and off 7 years.
Really?
And now I know, yeah, now I know, like, without a doubt, if he says to do something, I don't even question it because I know he knows. He's
hmm
proven to me, you know, that he knows. He'll say, do this. And I'm like, "Ooh." I'm like, dude, it's 2 weeks before the show. You want me to have a cheat meal?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, all right. And then I do, and I wake up the next morning, shred it, and I'm like, oh, he knew what he was talking about. Like, or take a diet break,
Yeah.
he knows that. So that's what I would say. Find someone you can trust,
hmm
um, and don't go by what you see. Stop comparing yourself to other people. I see a lot of women and guys do that too. They look at someone and compare, and I'm like, first of all, half the time people put their best photos. They're not going to put a crappy photo up on Instagram. They're going to put their best.
hmm
Um, you don't know if they've taken that 20 pictures just to put that one up there.
Yeah,
And put filters on it.
that's
So
true.
you can't go by that. I've seen competitors that I've competed against, and I've seen them, on Instagram. Like, oh my gosh, she's huge. And then I see them in real life, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not even big.
Uh-huh.
So you know, it's like basically your competition has to be yourself. You
Yeah.
have to mirror and say, okay, and be honest with yourself. This is what I need to improve and work on improving it. And then if you improve, you've already won.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's good advice on finding a good coach too. Who is your coach, by the way?
Justin Randall.
Justin Randall? I'm not familiar
Yeah,
with them.
yeah.
And that's
He's
great that you've been with him for 7 years.
yeah, yeah. On and off. We've been together 7 years. He he definitely knows his stuff. He's one of the coaches that y- your health is his main concern.
That's
Um,
good.
I remember last year before the Atlantic Coast, I had did the Pittsburgh show, and then I did the Tampa, and those were in July and August,
Hmm.
like a couple weeks apart. And then the Atlantic Coast was November, so it was like maybe it was like 2 weeks before the show, and he said to me, "Maybe we should just shut it down because it doesn't seem like your body's responding. You've been dieting because I had been dieting for like the almost a whole year,
Hmm.
and I was like, let's just give it another week, and if my body doesn't respond, then we'll, I agree, we'll shut it down."
Hmm.
But my body came back and did what it needed to do. So
That's really good. Yeah. It's good that you kind of gave it some time to figure your body to figure it out too, I guess.
exactly because I mean, but it was pretty cool for him to say, you know, rather than risk your health,
Yeah.
let's, it seems like your body's fighting you, and let's just, shut it down. And I knew enough to say, all right, I know my body. Let's just wait. And it had it not responded, then I would have agreed with him and said, okay, let's just shut it down. I mean, I
Mm.
appreciate someone that looking after my best interest versus just looking after a win.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that your health is so important too, yeah. Do you find, would you say just being an older competitor that you your health is more of a concern just because you're, just with age you're gonna have more maladies and stuff?
I so the funny thing is, I think I take more time to like really I do a lot of self-care. I do this thing called dry brushing. People are like, what the hell is that? Like, because I know I'm older, the skin's not gonna be as, you know, bounce back as much as it used to. So
Yeah.
um, I do infrared saunas, cryotherapy, the longevity. I don't want to be that person who, when they stop competing, that they have all these ailments.
Yeah, sure, I understand.
Um, Knock on wood, I've had no injuries. Um, so that's one of my other concerns too. And I train with guys. I just found out one of the guys I trained with yesterday, my son knows him. They used to play football together.
Uh-huh.
So that would tell you how old the kid is and the age difference. And he was like, after we finished, he was like, Jesus. I think I always surprise him that how strong I am.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a person, I like to do really high volume. But I'm careful. I make sure I do my warm-up sets and my stretching and all that.
Hmm.
Um,
That's really cool.
yeah.
I guess with age comes wisdom too. You're just
It,
smarter about
it,
things.
it's true, and you look at some of the older competitors and you have to, look and take their advice, see what they did. I look at people like Dexter Jackson.
Hmm.
I mean, he wasn't one who did all this crazy super heavy weight. And
Hmm.
look, I think he's had like one injury in his whole career.
Yeah.
Um,
He's amazing too.
so you have to look at stuff like that and say, let's look at this guy. He's basically had one or none injuries and still looked that good, and he was still kicking butt. So it's like, well, let's see what he's doing. Let's try to follow that versus the guy who, yeah, he's lifting 1,000,000 pounds, or the woman, she's lifting 1,000,000 pounds, but yep, she's had this surgery, that surgery,
Yeah.
so you kind of have to be a little smarter about
Yeah.
it.
I agree. We're almost out of time. If you don't mind, I'm gonna mute myself and have you do a quick flex and
Okay.
Thank you so much, Robyn. You look really terrific. Yeah.
Not bad for off season.
Oh, I think you look terrific. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
And I'll get this posted relatively soon, but I really appreciate your time.
No problem.
Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, Robyn.